Today. We're live though,
I
and
was here, as I pointed out in the chat.
yeah. So I'm only 3 minutes late according to my computer.
My grandpa always said if you're 15 minutes early, you're about 10 minutes late or something like that. If you're 10 minutes early, you're 5 minutes late or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it takes being early to actually make everybody happy. Usually,
I'm just, well, I mean, don't get used to it because I work from home today
uh-huh.
and next week I'll be in the office. So I'll get home an hour or 30 minutes later than I did now because I'll have to drive. So, so you'll get back at me. I'll be late next week or something.
Yeah,
You know, how's everything going?
pretty good. I'm coping with turning everything on. That's what happens when you're late. You're not prepared either.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've been here for a few minutes working, so this
And
is my
this is last
last page.
page.
Last page of pencils, man. And it's like, will there be a comic industry to even put this book out in? I don't know. You know,
I saw some people speculating on whether or not um, there'd be such a thing as the direct.
yeah, direct market.
Yeah, that the what do you call it, Mark? I can't think while I'm trying to
We're trying to eat
solve something here.
the direct market. You're
No,
talking
no,
about
the sales market of crowdfunding. Whether or not
that.
whether that'll still be around.
Well, I mean, who knows? Is it a bubble or is it a model?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Was it
I would
ever a
argue.
model? Yeah.
And I mean, might annoy some of the people that watch, and I apologize, but I feel like it's a personality driven thing, and so which is great. I mean, I don't have a problem with personality driven stuff. I mean, all the comic. I mean, Stan Lee, personality driven. Marvel Comics,
Mm-hmm.
personality driven. But it's because it's driven by personality. If five people stop doing it, will there still be I don't know if five is the number, by the way, but if people stop, if key influencers, put it that way, to still internet
Mm-hmm.
terms, stop making videos, stop talking about it, you know it, will that go away?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I hope. I mean, I want comics to be very successful because I want there to be a comic industry.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, I want there to be. I want to buy more comic books. I want there to be more comic books out there that I want to buy.
Mm-hmm.
But it isn't happening right now. And that's the funny thing is, as a consumer, I am completely written off. But I'm in my early 50s. I could buy as many comic books as I want, and I do, but unfortunately that number is like zero or one or two, because they just don't make. Now I've been buying a lot of back. I say a lot. I've been buying a few back issues lately,
Yeah.
um, but they don't make comics that. I mean, every time I look at one, it's like, you know, they've completely discounted me as a consumer, which is, I mean, I don't care. I mean, I got, today I was reading, an X-Men Essential, the reprint X-Men from the 70s, and I was perfectly comfortable with that. If that's what I'm doing for entertainment, hey, so be it.
Well,
The
I think
stuff
a
is out
lot of
there,
us
but
are in
I
that.
would do what?
A lot of us are in the boat of that time period that we did find comics entertaining. That's our time period. So
Right.
we go back and buy them off eBay again or whatever for very little. If you really got down to it and got honest about it, you aren't being entertained in anything like the way you were entertained initially by it. You're just trying to recapture things that.
I disagree.
Oh, really? Okay, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I bought. Hang on. Let me step to the side here for a second. So recently, in fact, I talked about this on a podcast that we recorded Friday. But I recently purchased. Let's see. A couple of old Avengers books. Let me see if I can find the other one I'm looking for. So I went to a guy that goes around to hotels and sells comics. He has a truck full of comics, basically, like a U-Haul truck or whatever. So I bought this there. I didn't have this when I was a kid. I don't think I paid $3 for it, but I may have.
What do you got there?
The torpedo, which is
Marvel torpedo.
The torpedo, not the human torpedo. Oh, sorry, okay. I'm on the wrong. But I mean, I think it's Sal Buscema did the art on this. It may be John Buscema. Oh, no, Bob Brown. But I mean, you know, this stuff is great. You know, now. You know, what astounds me, Ellis, when I look at this Bronze Age stuff, is just the detail. I mean, look at the background. I mean, okay, they didn't draw the buildings there, but look at every page or every panel just about has some sort of background. Now, you know, it's not the most detailed background, but you know, and then I bought that, and I bought a stack of stuff. That's one though. There's one I found so these are the recent ones I bought, because I bought a omnibus that had John Byrne stuff in it, and he did a 3-issue run on the Avengers. I don't have the third one. I'm looking for the third one, 166, but I read it in the omnibus, and it was so great because it was a little 3-issue story arc where the Avengers fight this Count Nefaria, and it was just so cool that I was like, I want those issues. It was one of the few stories in there I didn't have in single issues, and I looked, and you can get them for $6 or $7 a piece, and so I bought them. You know. And it's great. I've been really digging it, you know. And
it's something that you know, a guy
well, but
can get into. I mean, I'm not saying you can't get into it. I'm just saying it's from an era, and the time you dug it is probably, you know, I mean, it's
well, but
maybe
but
not.
What I'm saying, Ellis, is I did not have that as a kid. That's one of the few in there I didn't have as a kid, but I still reading it had the impact on me that the books from when I was a kid. That's what I'm saying. So if they put out books like that now, and what I mean by that is comics that are not written for the trades, because this was. And as far as I know, this has never been collected in a trade, except for maybe like an Essential or something that collects like a big run of Avengers. But if they would do books that are not for the trade, that are just you know, kind of semi-self-contained stories, a little bit of subplot, not with. There's a lot of action in it. There's a lot of backgrounds. It's not overly rendered and with the color art. You know, it's the old style color art. You know, I'd be reading it now. It's just, you know, like I'm a big X-Men fan, and I checked out a library because, you know, they just launched that big X-Men thing where Hickman was relaunching the X-Men. He was going to be steering the franchise. And so I thought, well, I'm going to wait on this. You know, I've been burned before, and so I got it from the library, and I was just like, I have no interest in this. You know, the X-Men they go to an island and they're basically terrorists. You know, it's like I don't really have any interest in these are not I mean, you know, I never really. To me, and to me, I would always like the X-Men. The X-Men were outcast, but they weren't like at war with humanity. That was the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. The
Yeah.
X-Men were more. They were kind of outcast. They were kind of on the fringes of society, but they weren't necessarily at war with the humans or trying. And in this, as near as I can tell, they're like straight up terrorists. You know, they're like, you know, demanding that all of the mutants be released from prison and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Since I grew up reading single issue comics, I'm not a fan of them at all. Well, I can understand that. To me, and I think maybe growing up reading them has something to do with it. But to me, because I would get comics, and I mean, when I was a kid, that was the only way. I didn't buy. I don't think I had other than the Stan Lee's Origin of Marvel Comics books. Let me think about that. I don't think I had the first trade paperback or collected edition that I had was I probably didn't get until I was in college. You know, because I don't think they were much
trade
of a thing.
paperbacks didn't exist so much as you know, the thick comic books that came out that were anthologies of past issues, and I used to love those. Didn't matter what they were. I liked big fat compilations, and of course, you know, obviously those became very popular in their new incarnation as, you know, graphic novels or whatever you wanted to call them.
So,
well, I mean, little Archies, little bonus deluxe,
yeah,
little Archies and stuff like that.
So this is what I had when I was a kid. I had a ton of these.
Look at that. Yeah, those are great. Yeah, little paperbacks.
And they break up yeah, it's paperback, and this is probably the first 6 issues.
Sure, I love that too. That's how I first picked up EC Comics, Autumn People with a Rosetta cover. Was that first that first compilation of EC Comics? Wow.
And it was paperback sized.
Yes, it's paperback size.
Oh wow.
With the idea of maximizing the art size, because they could predict that the panel size was so rigorously maintained through the ECs that they put them in sideways to where you could, you know, you had to rotate your paperback at a weird angle and look at it in a horizontal way or a landscape way, but it was cool, you know.
So here's another one. I had a ton of these when I was a kid. I still got them around here. They're just kind of scattered out. I had the Spider-Woman. I had the Hulk. I had a Captain America one, but it was all 60s stuff. I had the Fantastic Four. That was my favorite one. I collected the first 6 issues of Fantastic Four. In fact, that's what kind of got me into comics. Was a friend of mine had one, and I read it, and I thought it was super cool. And then I had this. I don't know if you're looking at the screen, Ellis.
Yeah, I am. That's a Steranko cover, isn't it?
I believe so. Yep, Steranko. And I think who did this?
Who did do it?
Al Williamson did the art on this.
Oh man,
well,
that's a keeper right there.
Well, it's Blade Runner, of course, it's a keeper.
Al
but
Williamson.
I think they did a.
Where'd you get that? What did that cost you?
$1.75. I bought
when
it
you
off
bought
the
it.
stand. Yeah, I bought it
when
when
I
was a kid.
Off the rack. I wonder what you could get for that at eBay. I'm just kind of curious. I bet it's a lot of money.
Yeah, maybe if it's never been reprinted. Some of the Blade Runner stuff, like if you buy the old special effects magazines, it's out of print and it's like hard to get and it's expensive. That might be something that's valuable. I had a couple Spider-Man ones. I had a Doctor Strange thing just like that. It was in color. And then somewhere along the way, I got a Fantastic Four one. A little bit later, I bought used. I got a Fantastic Four one that collected like some issues like in the 20s. It was kind of an odd thing. It was black and white, and I liked it because I thought Jack Kirby's art got a little bit better, you know, throughout that. So I owe you a dope slap, Ellis.
For what?
Not
For
really.
What?
Well, because you convinced me that I shouldn't use so the last 3 pages I've been doing with no underdraw. I mean, I've just been drawing right on the board.
Yeah.
And then I mean I'm joking about the dope slap because I think the art actually comes out better. I think the your idea, because I have my thumbnails sitting up there on my board here, you know, in my sketchbook, and I'm looking at them, and I mean, of course, I've laid out, you know, the grid already.
Well, you think
but I didn't.
you think it got you slowed down or something?
A little bit. But I think the work is better. So, you know,
that's cool. That's the only thing that really counts, because that's the only thing that's going down, and it's the only thing that anybody's going to see is the work.
True.
They don't care. They don't care what it costs you or anything like that.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to laugh at Fly Fox Pro. Modernism versus postmodernism. They had to destroy the foundation of what comes before them. The X-Men aren't radical enough because they're willing to work with a systematically racist system. I'm not sure Fly Fox Pro's joking.
No, I don't think
but I'm
too serious. But he's you know,
no. I think that not well. I think that's a no. I think that's probably a reasonable explanation, but I don't know. I was thinking about that today though, because I was reading that X-Men Essential, and I was thinking about not the X-Men and racist or whatever, but I'm curious how they're going to be folded into the Marvel universe, you know. And I thought about that. What would I do if it were me doing it? What would I do? And I would not roll you. They would not fight alongside the Avengers in my Marvel universe. They might, but I would have them be. But see, I think the same thing about Doctor Strange. You know, some of the Marvel character. I don't think it should be like, even though it kind of is in the comics or was. I don't know what it is now, but I think some of the characters need their own breathing room.
They don't. Yeah, they don't.
They don't play well together. No,
that's right. No, I totally agree with that. So like Kazar was just an odd off moment of Ditko's character designing days. And it's like, well, okay, use him. And I know from doing those cards, there is a warehouse floor full of these characters that are dead and gone. There's characters that will never be used again because they were kind of misfires in the first place. They were never that good. And and you know, it's like well, good. You know, I mean, it's like that's the way it should be. It's like tested on the market, kind of like your like, you know, burlesque used to go on the road, test out the jokes every day, you know. And
then hide the bodies,
and then the routines are that much better 10 cities later, you know. Bury
the dead, move on.
That's right.
Like what's the one I had? The Torpedo. You will not see a Torpedo movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
But he you know. But anyway, so yeah, I think X-Men should. I mean, I have a trade paperback collecting the old Kirby first appearances of the Inhumans. And that's kind of how the Inhumans were. They were like this hidden race, you know. Which I guess in the Shield series they were kind of like that. These hidden people, which I think that's what mutants should be, kind of like that. If they're, but see the problem is in in a world that has
In a
Thor and
world.
Doctor Strange, yeah, in a world,
In a world.
man fights. Oh, in a world that has Doctor Strange and Thor and Iron Man and Thanos, why would anyone fear the mutants? What, I don't know. There would be no mutant. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So anything about so you know the metaphor of, well, now we've got to make them as like outside. You know, maybe they should just do the evil mutants. That'd be maybe just make them evil. I don't know.
Well, I forget where I ran across this idea too. You know, I ran across the idea that things are looking sad for crowdfunding, and I also saw a thing where someone had the nerve to say things are looking sad for superheroes, and
Oh yeah,
I totally agree with that. It's like it's, how much of that non based on humanity character following do you think you can really stand? I mean, you've got to start having stories that have got something to do with the human experience, and
yeah.
you can't
Oh
have a whole lot of appetite for that past a certain point, because they aren't good fairy tales
no,
particularly.
that's true. That's true.
And it's like,
And they're not good thrillers
no.
because there's no
And plus,
stakes.
exactly. I was going to say the word stakes any moment, and you beat me to it.
I'm
And
hungry.
yeah.
Well, I I mean, never underestimate the power fantasy aspect of superheroes.
Well,
You know,
it used to be that everybody was just marveling that there could be such wonderful explorations of the fantastic. And I think we're getting to a point where, like, yeah, we've explored the fantastic, and
they may
and they will continue to explore the fantastic. But it's like, let's have the occasional thing about whatever, just people.
well,
I
that's where they're at in the comics.
Yeah.
That's my problem with the comics. The comics are all like,
Well,
well, you know,
they're trying to do that.
yeah. Well, we don't want to tell you about the Avengers fighting Nefaria. We'll tell you about Squirrel Girl on first day of college or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I hope that in whatever happens, I hope the industry survives by the time I get
Well,
done with this
yeah. I mean,
thing.
I want to see people that like to draw, telling stories. Yeah, you bet. Like to draw and like to write. Why not? You want that, but I want to see. Oh, what do I want to see?
You want to see a story about three angels that get kicked out of heaven and come to earth and fight supernatural crime.
Yeah,
That's
there
what
we
you
go.
want to see, and
That's what you're involved with right now as we speak.
yeah,
The last page.
the last page of pencils. Now I got to go back and ink this.
Mm-hmm.
I have 6 pages to ink, including this one that's not drawn.
Which you are busily drawing.
Yeah,
And you don't have your light table at work. And
nope. I'm drawing on paper like a chump.
And feeling like you wish you had your light table going
no,
right now.
no.
Because it solves all your problems.
Well, they always say the blank page. What's the hardest thing is the blank page or whatever.
Sure.
So this is a blank page. But I have thumbnails. I mean,
mm-hmm. But that's what I was trying to tell you were doing. That was bringing your art down, was that you were
depending on the blank page, or
penciling up from basically thumbnail level detail. Anything that you are bugged by here and erase and improve on,
like this arm.
Yeah, exactly. It bugged you because you could look at it and say, well, so what if the thumbnail said this arm measured out to here. It needs to measure out to here,
Well,
to a corrected point.
Well, I tell you what I was running, and I'll give you an example of this. So like on this, okay, so this is the thumbnail for this panel right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can see I've got a little bit different angle there, but when I drew the grid, I knew exactly where I want the horizon line to be because of what's in the panel. And the same stuff is in there basically, but I think had I gone off this, I would have ended up redrawing all this anyway. And now I just don't have to contend with it on the back,
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the deal. I mean, that little dinky little thumbnail being blown up and put on the back of your page as the basis of a drawing is not going to do anything but sabotage you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, you don't have to agree with me. That's all right.
Well, but here you are forgetting though. I would go in and modify them in Photoshop.
Yeah.
So
you weren't straight up doing it.
I wasn't a straight up slave to, and I would also put photos of cars and stuff, and I haven't done any of that on these last couple of pages. I mean, this truck, I'm just going to draw it as I see it, wherever my little model truck is.
Oh, well, in that case, I mean, but yeah, okay. Well,
but see, but that was the problem because I would put pictures of cars and stuff in there, and then I felt trapped by the perspective grid,
mm-hmm.
And then it was, it's okay. This is how I'd rather be drawn, honestly.
Yeah.
It just takes a little more of this kind of just feeling out the poses and stuff, for me at least. But I also feel like the more of this I do, the better I'll get at this.
Oh yeah.
And as long as I'm reliant on that thumbnail, I won't get better at this. I'm more comfortable doing this now than I would had I started this book or this series like this with this idea of, because I've done so much drawing in just even since the pandemic started in my sketchbook of just figures and poses and, sorry, I'm going to work on this.
Yeah, well, I think we're both getting nonverbal all of a sudden, trying to draw a little bit. It says Natasha International says, getting some Taco Bell. You guys want anything? And Flyfox Pro says he stopped for fast food a few minutes ago on the way home from a road trip. It's been a while since I had a road trip.
Yeah,
what does a road trip amount to, Firefox? I mean, where'd you go? Where'd you come from?
Have we determined, doesn't Natasha International lives in Oklahoma, right?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
No, I think we determined that. But not Oklahoma City. Not to bring us Taco Bell. I don't like Taco Bell. I like Taco Mayo. Not a Mexican food guy, though. So what'd you do today, Ellis?
I did an interview with a guy in Ireland for a
and
that went okay. I got in my usual kind of hardly focused mode of letting my mind wander as I replied to his questions, to where by the end of it, it's like, did I answer that question or did I just go off on a riff there? And so I don't know how much useful he got out of it, but it was an interesting topic. It was on the idea Phoenix to Tucson to help my dad get the childhood home ready to sell. Rest in peace, my childhood. I'm in the childhood home right now, and yeah, it's odd. It is odd to even think about it being in anybody else's hands. Yep, that would be weird.
You're in the bedroom you grew up in, aren't you?
No, this is probably mom and dad's bedroom where I'm at.
Oh, because it has a bathroom.
I've made the bedroom out of every bedroom in the house at this point. So, yeah. I've gotten around that much within this house. Yeah.
Since you've been back to the house.
Well, in the long years that I've lived in it.
Oh, gotcha.
Back and forth.
Well, my parents still live in the house that I grew up in,
mm-hmm.
and
mm-hmm.
I don't.
Seems right, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel the same though, because my room is now a sewing room.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, what's funny though is Michelle and I have actually stayed in that room when we haven't had electricity or stuff like that. The power's been out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always kind of weird. But my parents a few years ago added on. You haven't been to my parents' house, have you, Ellis?
No.
Okay. My parents added on a room to the back a few years ago, like a big add-on room, and so it doesn't have the same feel as it did when I was a kid. I was telling them if I ever move back, that's my room, because it's all glass on one side. Make a great room.
Wow.
Sounds like a studio.
Sounds like what they call the Florida room or something.
It is like that. It is exactly like that. Sorry, I'm changing her expression. I don't like it. See, if I had thumbnails under here, I could just turn the light box on and I'd be okay.
That's right. Just check yourself. You're going to probably discover that I am totally wrong as far as advice goes in terms of like how you're doing things. I don't know.
Nah, I'm okay with. Well, here's the thing. There is, for all intents and purposes, no comic conventions right now.
Yeah.
My book needs to be colored, and so I think the colorist has the first. I haven't seen anything. Oh, and I'm not the cover artist. There's a cover artist, so I'm not super worried about it. I can spend a little bit of time tinkering with it if it's like, hey, this is something that'll help me in the long run, And I'm kind of with you. I think it will.
White Fox Pro says they call it an Arizona room here. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is a real scintillating stuff. Both of us having a hard time drawing.
So what'd you do today, Ellis? Besides the interview? So you thought the interview went okay?
Yeah, it was okay. And the topic is something that the guy, I gave him an hour's worth of stuff to cut. And, if he uses more than a minute of it, he's probably overdoing it in terms of my contribution to the movie Mothman. But I would, at the end of it, he's wondering if I can help out in terms of like linking him up to other people to talk to. And of course I could link him up with Doug, but Doug is going to not want to feel obligated. Like Doug has said in the past about people that either want to work with him, collaborate, do this or that. Doug is a real generous guy, but he's only got so much in him for, stuff of interacting with people that, are just fans. And so this guy's got this thing going on Moth, and I think it'd be good for Doug to talk to him in terms of like the quality of what this guy's after. But does Doug care about the quality of what this guy's after? It's not.
Yeah, would Doug be willing to put his time into this?
Yeah, his time into it, his time and effort to sitting and talking about something and that isn't out there, and it's not out there for a reason. Doug was, kind of basically dissatisfied with it, or maybe there's other reasons that I don't know, that I'm being a smarty thinking I do understand why it's not out there. He's the only one that can tell you why it's not out there. And so I think I know a couple of the reasons, and I shared the reasons. And the guy seemed to, though, you talk about dealing with narratives in our modern society. He had a couple of things that he obviously had as where he wanted it to go. And he had a lot.
Yeah.
He had a lot of little notes that said, and about the Silver Bridge tragedy, which I realized, Mothman has got a lot of this thing about a bridge failure in it that I am totally unacquainted with, know nothing about, but I don't know just enough to know that there is that in there.
Right.
That's something he wanted to talk about, and I know nothing about it. So, I ended up being that much of a non-entertaining,
thanks for nothing, Ellis.
Thanks for nothing kind of guy.
Well, that fits what I know about you.
Doug says somebody has lost the footage. Maybe so. That would be interesting.
What?
Doug says
so
someone
has
probably
movie?
Lost the. Well, the movie was something. Doug, as the neighborhood was ending, Doug was looking around, feeling kind of antsy. Games when they're in crunch mode and everything. It's all up to the programmers and the artists that are working on the game assets. Doug was done on the game as the guy running things and doing a little concept art here and there, and filling in a little bit of animation here and there. He was done. He was working on creature tech and a couple other things, but he was also kind of antsy to get filmmaking underway, if that's where he was headed. And he gave it a shot with Mothman in terms of being like a auteur or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And that ended up working out to be exactly as much trouble as almost everybody that ever tries to make an indie film. And it was something where I think Doug examined it as this isn't my wheelhouse. And that was the last film he tried to do. Also, all you have to do is examine how much money you have to spend. But if that surprises me that the film might not be out there as film, that would be you'd want that, or you'd want really good digital footage of it, because I do believe they shot it on film. Well, I know they did, because one of the deals that they had as a advantage, they have what they call the ends of film, where people are basically throwing away film stock. But if you've got an in for that sort of thing, you can grab those ends, and that's one of your biggest budget things. Having to buy the film, and the negatives are the other big
the developing or processing.
Right, processing. And so Doug had a couple of ends on that were going to cut that down. So it is a film. And I've got what could be called a bootleg of it, I guess.
Oh,
but
do you?
that wouldn't be any use to him. Yeah,
we should watch that sometime. Wait, what's it on?
It's on a DVD.
Oh, and it's a feature length.
Yeah, that's and I told this interview guy that may be a problem with it. It maybe should be gone into, edited down to a typical Netflix length kind of little special feature or something,
Oh, yeah.
An hour instead of an hour and a half, say.
Yeah, one of these days we should watch that, Ellis. I'm just saying. I would be interested in seeing it.
It's
Is it rough?
interesting. No. It's I was telling this guy the big thing about Mothman is that it's got Doug's eye in it for good shots, and
Oh yeah.
that really does elevate it. It's got good shots throughout, and when you see somebody that's doing lazy stuff, you realize just how good Mothman is as far as shots go. And to me, that's always worthwhile. You know, I
Sure.
really I dig movies that have an artistic eye to them.
Yeah. That can elevate a.
Oh yeah,
I mean, a mediocre movie or even a bad movie is watchable if it's well
oh yeah.
composed. You know, if you care about that sort of thing, which I do.
There we go.
It's
Yeah,
just like a movie that's not that good, but maybe it's got like a good location or good interesting maybe not special effects, but like not dialogue, sets or what do they call it where they design all that stuff. I'm blanking on the term. What's the job for the guy that designs the sets?
um, set design.
Yeah, anyway, but if the art direction on it is good, that can save it. If it has
Yeah. Oh yeah.
interesting.
It's like the James Bond guy and he did more than James Bond, but he was a legend. And the reason the James Bonds, one of the reasons you love them so much is all those great like I say, call them set pieces of,
Yeah.
of walking into the lair and it all looks all shiny and vast and everything like that. And it's like,
Oh yeah.
it's not, it's the usual crap that's being made out of. Behind that, there's some chicken wire. Behind that,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
there's some foam core, but it just looks fantastic.
It's the design of it though.
Yeah.
It's the art direction of that
And where you decide,
that can
yeah.
elevate.
Mm-hmm.
Or like if a movie is shot someplace and they use the location well, and it's someplace kind of interesting, that I'll always watch a movie that's like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Movie that moves around a little bit. Yeah. Keep you interested.
That has a sense of place. I was showing my wife. Hang on just a second. I'll grab since I was talking about Bronze Age stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can find that. I was looking at. Oh, I misplaced it. It's probably around here somewhere. Anyway, I was looking at a Spider-Man essential. Amazing Spider-Man. And I was showing my wife because it starts off and Spider-Man is swinging above St. Patrick's Cathedral and in New York City. And I know exactly where that's at because we've been there and all this stuff. And then from there, there's a building. You can't really see what building it is, but there's a light on in the building. And so he kind of goes, and his spider senses are going off. He's investigating. There's a bad guy in there. They fight. The bad guy knocks him out the window. Well, the building, he falls to the ground and he gets up, and the building was Rockefeller Center, and he ends up with a fight in the next issue on the ice skating rink. But because of the way, and I don't know if it was in the script or the art or what, but because of the way that it was presented, totally works out geographically, because here, an issue earlier, he was swinging by St. Patrick's Cathedral, which is right across the street from Rockefeller Center. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I like when you see a movie that does that. I wish I could find that essential.
Gives you a nice set of space, sense of space. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, oh, okay. Well, you can see where he's going with this, and so forth. Oh, wait, hang on.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got it. So we'll find that issue.
Let's have a look.
If I can find it.
I've decided to retire the iPad tonight because I'm just having too much trouble with it. I just can't draw on it tonight. I'll break that trend tomorrow when I wake up in the morning. It's been too long since I tried to really. Hey, that looks cool. It's black and white. That's the way I like them.
Oh yeah, well it's an essential.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. So see here, I don't know if you can see that. Spider-Man's going past St. Patrick's Cathedral. Doesn't even mention it. It's just kind of a long shot. He's going past it. And it goes along. It says, hey, there's this glowing ball. So it kind of swings over, and it goes in this building, goes through the wall. And then he looks, and he sees something going on. There's a guy in there kind of glowing or whatever. They get into a fight. He knocks him out the window. Spider-Man goes out the window. And he comes down, and you see it's Rockefeller Center. And so he ends up, which of course is where the ice skating rink is. He ends up falling on the ice skating rink. And here comes the Spider Slayer robot.
Huh.
And the next issue,
they end up fighting. Who's the artist?
I think it's Jim Mooney. Oh, there's Russ Andrew.
Oh, that's interesting. Russ.
Yeah. But, I mean, this stuff is great. Art's a little rough in some spots. The inking's a little heavy.
Yeah, the printing. I mean, that can be you can end up with some bad printing on something you would love to own, and then you look at it and it's like, ugh, too heavy, too rich.
I was cruising essentials on Amazon, and I came across this. And it was, I think I paid like $7 for it.
You know what tomorrow is, don't
you? Thursday? What? What?
The 1st of October.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
And then that means if you're into it.
Wait, are you talking about ink? Are you talking about Inktober?
Yeah, I'm talking about Inktober. It starts if a person is
exposed to doing it. You know about the controversy. You know about the controversy.
What is the controversy?
Oh, you don't know about the controversy?
I don't know about the controversy.
Oh, Jake Parker supposedly plagiarized his book off of another artist. So a bunch of people were already mad at him because he supposedly tried to copyright Inktober as a which.
Well, does he have any?
Hang on. I lost my headphones.
Okay.
Hang on. Let me put the other one in.
All right.
Okay. I'm hearing. Hang on, Ellis.
All right. I'm with you. Or I think I am. I could talk to my audience. Hey, Flop Hawks, it's good to see you. I need to watch that. Are you talking about? No, I'm not going to show it to Scott either because it is not mine to put in the wild in any way whatsoever. Mothman is Doug's. My little copy. You heard that, huh?
Yeah, I'm back up. Yeah, I didn't want to start something. Yeah, no. You can't.
Well, it's just that you know how things work. There's just hard. It's hard to put anything out in the wild at all.
No. I would never suggest putting that because once it gets out of your hands, it's out of his hands.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's beyond my ability to retrieve it. I can't put that fire out if it got away from me. And
no, I meant you bring the DVD to my house and we watch it. I was not sorry, anybody that wants to see it, but I was.
Yeah.
No, because you can't.
Yeah, I'm not going to give anybody a loaner a copy of it. Basically, yeah.
No. You cannot betray someone's trust, whether he knows you have it or not, whether it's a bootleg or not.
I'm sure he knows I have my version of it.
Right. He might be okay with that, but he probably wouldn't be okay with you just putting it out there.
Oh no, huh? No, he needs to do something with it, but I'm not so. That's his deal. He needs to do something with it. I can't. I can't say
The-
what you need
and
is the. You remember the old the release of Fantastic Four that only occurred in bootleg editions. Somebody made some money of those bootleg editions of the Corman production of Fantastic Four. I mean, that thing, that was one of the things you'd pick up off a table for ages.
Yep. Have you seen the documentary about that movie?
Yeah, isn't that interesting? How sincerely they wanted to make a good movie. You know, this wasn't just trash that was being thrown out there. These people wanted to make a good movie, and when you consider limitations, and plus at that time they were producing what could be construed as a good movie.
Compared to other superhero movies at the time,
sure. At the time,
there was not a lot of competition. I don't know what year that was.
But then within just a year or so, it's like, well, golly, that's a joke.
Yeah.
That's a joke level of filmmaking. No, it's not. It was of its time, and people making it had no idea that it was just a legalese item.
Yep. But by the way, what we're talking about, if anyone hadn't seen it, on Amazon Prime, there's a documentary called Doomed, which is about the Fantastic Four, the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie. And it's kind of a sad thing because it was always made just to retain the copyright. They had to start filming by a certain date, and or they would lose the copyright to that movie. And so they did it, and they hired Roger Corman. Roger Corman said, and there's dispute about whether Corman knew going in or not that it was never planned on being released, or for that matter, there's dispute about whether it was ever really planned initially, because at some point it was obvious that it was just a ruse. But it's kind of like, who knows? That's one of the questions about the movie, is who knew, because they put. And it reminds me of the practical effect, special effects people that worked on the original Star Wars. They did all this work. Now, the Star Wars was groundbreaking in special effects, so let's not confuse the two. But they did all this work that no one will ever see because in Star Wars it was all replaced by digital stuff, and the movie never got released. And so these people that thought this was their next step up. Are you
talking about Star Wars or Jurassic Park?
Star Wars. The original practical effects in Star Wars have been, you can't see them anymore because you can't. It's all been replaced by the special editions from the 90s.
Oh, no way! Surely not. Surely there were some releases that are around there that have still got the old scooters and stuff like that. No.
Nope.
Oh my God!
And won an Oscar, and you cannot see any of that. All that work.
That's an atrocity. All that practical effect gone. Oh my God!
Yep.
I'll never watch another Star Wars. This is my promise. I'll never watch another one.
I have a feeling I won't either.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the last couple movies, so I'm okay. I don't know. It doesn't appeal to me anymore.
Yeah.
Which they'd probably be okay with.
Oh yeah. My demographic moving on is fine. Yeah. Even though my demographic is probably kind of larger than it ought to be, let's say.
Well, I can promise you, in comics at least, we talked about this earlier. Comic books, I have plenty of money to spend buy as many comics as I want, but they're not putting out comics that I want. So
yeah.
I mean, my favorite comic right now is free on the internet. So
35mm prints that people own. Yeah, that's my hope, Flyfox, is that there's no way to completely suppress that. I hate the idea of there being no THX 1138 the way I saw it. I just can't stand that idea. Of because that was
How did
beautiful.
you see it?
Well, I saw it when it was released, and that's that beautiful low budget film that was taking advantage of this and that, and where Lucas is really showing off what a storyteller he can be, and the
But
idea that
you're not talking about a student film.
no, I'm talking about THX.
You're talking about the first, yeah, but not the short film.
No,
when he okay.
No.
Okay.
Well, what is the big deal release named? Is it not THX 1138?
Yeah, it is, but it's based off a student film that he did.
Yeah.
That is like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah. But I think it's
There's
called
DVD
something
release.
else. I think it's called something else besides THX 1138.
The student film?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think it has like a subtitle, like
Yeah.
a electronic romance or something like that.
Yeah, it's called an electric labyrinth.
Or electric labyrinth. That's what it is, or labyrinth, or however. Yeah, which I think is student film kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is. It is.
You know, I saw it as one of my Canopy selections one time.
Ah, yeah.
Hey, if you have any Canopy credits, tonight's the night.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, forgot any left. What I did watch Canopy the other night. What did I watch? The thing I finished off Lilyhammer, and I finished off. Well, that's been it most recently. I got to catch up with The Boys now. See how that's going. And that movie, I've got a lot of critiques of The Boys in terms of like saying, should I even stick with this? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little much, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a DVD release that had the
Is Fly Fox talking about Star Wars or
he's talking about Star Wars.
11?
He's talking about Star Wars. It's out there in enough little versions of it, Laserdisc and like that. You can always recreate your memories of it, hopefully some way. I that's a passion of mine. I really hate the idea that Francis Ford Coppola just starts monkeying with something like Apocalypse Now until you you can't even start to recreate the experience you had when you watched it.
Oh yeah, I'm not a big fan of stuff being tinkered with.
Yeah.
It's because I don't know.
But I mean, you've done principal photography, and I guess for a guy that does think of films as just getting started by the time you get it ready to cut, because that is when you make your film, is when you cut it. But getting released, and
once it's out there, I don't think you should
monkey with it too much.
No, certainly not something, not like, hey, this won an Academy Award for special effects. I'm going to take them all out, The
Library of Congress doesn't have copies of Star Wars because Lucas wouldn't give them the originals, and they refused to take the special editions. How about that?
That is true. That is true. I watched a video. Someone is making one. I've seen, and of course, there's quite a few people doing it. I tried growing up in a Trekkie house.
Yeah. No Star Wars are here. It's all
until Star Trek. I was a Star Trek fan when I was a little kid. I was in like first grade when I saw Star Trek, and I thought it was super cool. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what, and I still remember there was a scene of Mr. Spock looking through the little device on the console there, and I saw it was like, who's this guy with the pointed ears? It just blew me away. And so I became a huge Star Trek fan. And then, and this would have been early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started really watching and reading a lot of science fiction um, pretty early, fourth or fifth grade.
That was
And
the catalyst, huh?
yeah, and so about the sixth grade was about when Star Trek or Star Wars came out, and I didn't see it for a little while, but I remember watching it in the theater and seeing that big ship, the very beginning, just going over your
Yeah.
head,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember going, and this is because of the time. If you weren't there, you won't understand. But I remember just thinking, I will never get to see this movie again, and I just wanted to remember every single thing about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of course, there was no way to see him back then. Until it came on TV.
Right.
You know, that was.
Yeah. My first Star Trek was a visit to the grandparents at Arkansas, and it was market specific. We did not get Star Trek in Oklahoma City. The first season
Oh, really?
of Star Trek, it was not being shown, as far as I know. I'm almost positive of that, because it was like I asked Bob Roy, my uncle, "What is this?" He says, "This is Star Trek. This is a good show." And he was a big fan. He lived in Little Rock, and he knew all about it. And I've always liked my memory of Bob Roy is centers a lot around his enthusiasm, his childlike enthusiasm for Star Trek. And I believe it was probably the Cage we were watching, because I remember it had the other impersonal computer like woman in it. And she wasn't in
Oh,
anything
yeah.
but the Cage, I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been a huge Star Wars fan. Yeah, that's the Red Letter Media guy all over. That's what's his name? Mike Stoklasa. He's a Star Trek guy. My God, every iteration of Star Trek, he knows about it. Of course, he hates a lot of it, because what they've done to Star Trek is go down the path of cliche for what they think uh, the blockbuster direction it needs to take. And it's, he wants something warm and intimate of the sort of storytelling he thinks Star Trek specialized in.
Oh, yeah. I was my Star Wars. I was a kid when Star Wars came out, and I saw it. Let's see, it was 77, 77, yeah, 77. So I would have been 10. I think I said it was in sixth grade or seventh grade, but I was in fifth. It was the summer after fifth grade, and so that came out. Well, then I think Empire came out in 80, and I was a little bit older. So I would have been eighth grade, and I would have been 13. And I didn't care. I saw it, but I didn't care near as much for it. And Jedi came out, I was like 16, and I could have cared less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
It's like, nope, 16 is not the ideal Star Wars age.
yeah.
At least not when I was 16. I could have
And
cared less.
Natasha says Deep Space Nine is the best series in my opinion, because it is its own creature and every character is likable. Well, I've had that on a couple of people whose opinions I appreciate, but I've never binge watched anything like Deep Space Nine, or hardly any of it past the original Trek. I never watched Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, any of this stuff. I never have dipped into it. But Deep Space Nine is the one I think that people do tend to say, yeah, there's a high watermark there. It does have you can tell they really got into the idea of universe creation, and that of course the idea of just having them collide in this one little place of a crossroads of alien things.
Yeah.
That's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, cool idea. I watched some of it.
Trek
Probably one of the
Next
more
Generation is
watchable
better
of the.
than DS9. That's Fly Fox's. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'd be curious what Stoklasa thinks. I don't think I hear him mention Deep Space Nine. I think he's all about Trek, Next Generation, and the old one. The Red Letter Media guys had a thing where Shatner actually started paying attention to him to some extent, saying,
Uh-oh.
"Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Oops.
good. It wasn't good. Yeah, it was like." Because he was like down on them as being this lowly podcast that was giving him supposedly some sort of flack, but he just misunderstood it. They weren't giving him flack, but he took it the wrong way.
Doesn't matter. He ain't taking in their flack,
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
shouldn't. And he shouldn't. By the way,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm all for like, hey, I'm a creative person. You're a,
Yeah.
you're a. I mean,
I'm Kirk. Yeah,
I'm creative. I'm
Yeah.
Kirk. Yeah, that's all he had
Yeah.
to say. What is your history with green women? Come on.
but it was some sort of foolishness about some sort of interview that occurred or something like that. Yeah. Kirk likes Next Generation, and he has big criticism of Deep Space Nine. Space Jesus, that's my criticism of Deep Space Nine. I'm not sure,
Space.
like I was saying, I'm not sure what goes on in the show, so I don't understand the reference. Is that a particular character, or is that somebody that showed up late in it, or is that how it ends?
I think it's somebody showed up late in it, but I don't I don't know enough about it to say.
I went back to paper and paper and pen, warming up for Inktober, I guess.
Oh yeah, are you gonna be on the drink and draw or what? What
No,
is it?
not tonight.
Drawing a quarter.
I've had enough of being on the internet today. I tell you, what was that long?
I can imagine
that long interview.
Oh yeah. Is that available, Ellis, where people can?
No,
watch
it won't be. It won't be. And like I say, I didn't record it. It was my first Zoom call. That's my first experience with Zoom.
So it wasn't. It wasn't. The interview wasn't the point. Getting information out of you was the point.
Yeah. And I could have hit record and had my end of it, but nah. I'll let the guy have it. He's in charge of all of it. And if I said something that ruins me in a non-contextual kind of way, that's all right. Who cares? Just
exactly.
as long as they don't come to my door, I'm fine.
If they come to your door, you're still good.
Yeah. This is fun. I also finished up yesterday of a commission to InWorld, another one of those where I got to practice some more digital painting. That it's always nice to finish a couple of projects and realize, hey, I need to do this every day. Otherwise I won't get good at it.
Yep, that's a pretty good rule of thumb.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed. I've just got these little rules now that I've got in my head that are good rules, I think, because I learned them I realized that if I want my stuff to look like stuff was done with a brush, like an oil painting, I have to limit myself. I have to have limitations that I have to use, like try to use one brush, and by golly, you will get something that looks like a painting. Because if you limit yourself to a fraction of the tools that Photoshop gives you, use all the tools smart. Use layers and use masks, but when it comes down to it, what touches the screen or whatever, make that limited.
I read a thing a while back that it was saying, I don't know where I read it, but it was saying that people that use Illustrator for like a game design. I'm talking about like the concept designer guys. Actually prefer like the older versions because it didn't have so many bells and whistles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And they, it would do what they needed to do. They didn't worry about all the bells and whistles. They didn't need it to have, because they didn't use any of that stuff. They were just basically using it like paint,
Yeah.
And they didn't need layer effects, and they didn't need some of that stuff.
Yeah, that makes me think about when I worked at Miramar, the Top Gun pilots. They had stories where they said, well, yeah, we'd get over across the parallel in Vietnam and we'd turn everything off that we could stand to turn off because it was too distracting. They were worried that if somebody jumped up on them, they wouldn't be able to react with all the feedback they get of the little warnings that go on and stuff like that. So they would they just start flying and be ready to, hit their guns or their missiles or whatever. But they didn't want all that feedback that some designer had worked out for them and coming through their heads and their heads up displays and all that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Certainly, if you could, turn it off selectively, that makes sense.
Oh, here we go. I was wondering, there's something I was going to answer, and here it is right in front of my face. Where'd you get your art board, Ellis? This is it's an interesting work surface. This came from Scott. He gave me about 3 of these pieces of masonite that are what, Scott? About
I think they're 11 by 14 ish.
11 by 14. That looks right.
Is that right? Or are they 11 by 17? They're probably
they're more like 14, I think.
12 by 15, I think. That's because they're not a full comic. You can't draw. You can't draw a comic page on them. Right. Yeah, but I was drawing 11 by 14 at the time, and a friend of mine, I bought some masonite, and a friend of mine cut them for me, and I bought enough masonite that he just cut it all up. And he made me. Oh, okay. So here, I'll show you.
It's 12 by 15. Yeah, masonite is a really nice surface. Yeah.
So this is a sheet of the same stuff, and this was mine, but I put a Borco surface like I got on my drawing board on it, so you can draw on this. It's just like drawing on this thing, and then I had enough leftover Borco that I've got. Now this is like a shelf, but it's thick, and this I'll use this occasionally. And I was taking this like free comic book day and doing sketches on it, leaning against the board so I wasn't hunched over a flat surface.
And that's what I'm not hunched over either, because this is probably what Natasha's actually asking me about. This thing here is this cheap, it's probably more for like displaying books and stuff, but it's an actual thingamajig. It's an actual, what do you call it?
Easel.
It's an actual easel, but it's one of these cheapy easels you get from an art supply, or you can get them at Walmart in the arts and crafts area. And then to keep it stable to where it doesn't fall over when I lean it back the way I'm trying to lean it, I've just added the spring-loaded thing here to grab the bottom up. Just happens to fit perfectly, that spring, on a what do you call it? A clipboard. Yeah, a clipboard. And so that's my imprint.
It gives enough base.
Just enough of a base, and it's a great little angle, and of course it's adjustable.
So I'm going to tell a story about you, Ellis, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I think one of the first times I came over to your house after you were living alone, after your mother passed away, weren't you using like the organ? Didn't you have a drawing board bolted to the organ somehow?
Just kind of like casually lashed to it. It was lashed. Okay. I didn't want to damage the organ in any way.
But you don't do that anymore.
No, I've stored the organ out in the garage. I've put a tarp around it and said, let me get that thing out of my way.
Oh, okay.
That's the only reason I did it, was because it was taking up so much space,
Yeah. I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Ellis has being a single man, Ellis has a different lifestyle than I do.
Well, yeah, every now and then you'll see on one of my YouTube videos, you'll see the surroundings of where I've decided I'm perfectly content to live. Yeah, Natasha in International says mine is from Ziegler's in Tulsa. She paid $120 and it barely fits an 11 by 17 page on it. That's interesting. Yeah, yeah. So you've got a little
Is it an angle though? I mean, sometimes
artboard.
some of those little boards could be kind of expensive like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
You know.
they're going for certain kinds of weights. Some of these real hollow core doors that feel like you're picking up something as light as a piece of paper, and yet they're just they got a lot of air in them the way they're built. And that's cool. That they're nice and light, and you feel like you're spinning them around. Well, if they're durable, they're cool.
Yeah.
Hey Scott, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say I like the Masonite is good. For a while, that 11 by 14, I could fit that in my backpack.
Sure.
And so I would tape when I was working 11 by 14. I would tape a page to it, and I'd take it to work with me. And then at lunchtime or break time or whatever, I would work on it. I would draw. I just pull that board out and draw. It was great. But it felt a little cramped for, this particular job that I'm working on. I don't use that other board because it's so heavy. It's the opposite. It's very heavy.
Well, there you go, right there. I just said that if you're too heavy, it discourages you from whipping it around like the way you ought to.
Yeah. Well, I'm not desk to work on, so
yeah.
I had it in my head that I had to be, portable or whatever. So it's like, well, I'll draw this, be drawing downstairs on the couch or whatever. But it's like, well, I always ask myself, how do I do my best work?
Yeah.
And that's where I want to be working.
Yeah. No, I right now, just having this camera at my left shoulder, keeping me from leaning here and there, that totally stunted anything I was trying to do with that iPad. I needed to change where the camera was at if I really wanted to get into what I was doing with the iPad. Well, it is 1 hour, 17 minutes into our thing. Sorry, we started late. If anybody was waiting for us, I doubt it.
Three minutes. I was.
Yeah, you were. I know. I'm sorry about that. And let's all celebrate.
No
Scott is on his last page of his pencil.
I'll be inking next week, though. I can promise you. I got 6 pages to ink. It'll take me a week at least to ink them.
Yeah, send me a couple pages, and I'll ink them while I'm sitting here talking to you, and then send them right back to
you. Don't tempt me.
Yeah.
I will do. I'll complain about them.
Yeah. You probably ought to just focus it on it yourself. Yeah. Have you got every page that you've done that still hasn't been inked? Is every page you've got now have to be inked?
No. I've only got. Wait, what do you mean?
I mean, is the entire thing, the whole multi-issue thing, has none of it been inked?
No. I have 6. No. It's all been inked. The first 3 issues, my part is completely done.
Oh, good. Okay. Excellent.
Pencils, inks, letters, completely done. First, there's a Dropbox with all those files. The issue 4 is completely inked except for the last 6 pages because I do them in 8-page chunks.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so you have been bringing it along. You haven't given yourself some sort of big tub of art now that you have to go back and ink.
Oh God, no! I did that with issue either 1 or 2, and it was so brutal going back and inking all that I was just like, nah, I'm not doing that.
Not going to happen again. Okay, gotcha.
I can, on my sketchbook, I can fit 8 pages of thumbnails. And so I just broke it down into 8-page chunks. I didn't even have thumbnails for the last 6 pages until recently. I would draw 8 pages of thumbnails, scan it in, print it out on the back, pencil them, then ink them, and then be done. But yeah, I got after I finish this up, I've got no more pencils to do, and then I'm just inks, straight
Excellent.
inks, which
Excellent.
I like doing inks because I kind of clear my desk off. I get my inks out, I get my pens out, and I get, right now I got pencils and erasers on my desk,
Right.
But yeah, and I don't know what I'm doing next, man. I mean, it's kind of weird. This is the first thing I've worked on ever that I have nothing to do next. Literally nothing,
Yeah.
You'll
have some. You'll have something. I'm sure come up.
Something will come up. Something will come up. I'm not super worried about it, except for the fact I don't know if there'll be a comic book industry, but that's old. That's a different story.
Yeah.
I can't help that.
Yeah. Beyond your
the bad thing is because this is going through a publisher. It's not like I can be done with this and then send it off, get it printed, and send them out. I have to then send it to the publisher, who may or may not have stuff they want me to change.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have to, my part's done basically, unless there's something that has to be changed. But nothing will happen. I mean, it might be 6 months before they start putting them out. So so I don't know. I never had something to do. Well, the writers told me he'll give me more work, so I'm not super worried about it.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. You've established a relationship, and it's going.
But I told you that the Big Easy score got rejected by the publisher.
Yeah, you did say that. Yeah.
So I don't, but whatever. I mean, I don't know.
But the reasons for that are money related as much as anything. That if they're going to be making money, they've got to have free and clear title to it. I'm sure.
They didn't talk about why or anything like that, so I don't know. But I think there may have been something like that. They may have figured that a comic book that had the main story point was Hurricane Katrina. It may be too far past that, to be viable. I don't know, but hey, whatever.
Commercial, yeah. You
Yeah,
always want to be commercial.
I'm sure if they thought that it would sell, they would have, sold it.
Yeah.
But oh well. What are you gonna do?
I guess I'm going to end the broadcast. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks for everybody for dropping by.
Yeah. Thanks. See you all later.
See ya.